After you've MIST coated your walls, you'll be ready for putting your final coats of paint on. So 2 coats of whichever finish you've chose. Now depending on the type of finish, then if it's a matte like these walls have been prepared in, then you won't have too much of a problem with any marks or deviations showing up in the wall. But if it's a vinyl matte or a mid sheen which has a subtle finish sheen to it, then you will see they'll be highlighted across the wall. Now generally larger rooms are worse. You get a big broad wall, you may have a window at the end where the light's striking across. Well, here we've got a small window and it is quite a small room. So at the moment we're not getting a lot of light striking through the wall, through the window onto the walls. But depending on the time of year, because the sun alters its position and it may be lower in winter, then obviously you may be here painting the walls and you won't see that, but then your customer may 6 months down the line, that light comes through that window and strikes the wall and will show up all the marks, any bits that are in the paint if they've not been properly prepared. Also in this room I've no lighting because I've had to cover this chandelier up. So to get the smoothest finish on the walls, you need a light. I had to pick one up on my way today because I've left my other one on my other job. So this is a 24 watt LED, which are a lot better than your halogen. The slightest knock with the halogen and you'll be replacing the bulbs. Even when this was put in the back of the van and driving around, they can blow the halogen bulbs. So this is 1600 lumens. Have a look at it. I've found these a lot better. Like I say, these travel a lot better. So that's it basically, a small foot. Sit it on, or you can get the larger stands with these. Putting it together is quite easy. So with the wing nut and bolt there, just simply underneath, widest hole, pop this all the way through, and then that way the light sits on top and then this can be fastened up. And that's it, assembled. Oh, that's on a flat surface there, and you can see how low that is down. That shouldn't really affect anything. And it is like that, just so that you don't have to constantly take that foot off. It'll just sit on top of your stand. These don't have a switch incorporated at this end, which I guess is less to go wrong. It is just literally at the power source. The advantage of using a light to shine over the wall is obvious marks will show up. They'll be quite easy to see, but then you'd be amazed at how much is left. So just by shining the light across the wall, you can see those marks just start to appear. Really is quite a bad wall, this. When I go across the whole lot, if I generally look across there now, that's not too bad. but I'll just walk down the whole length of that wall holding the light, and you can just see how rough that is. If I was to just paint over that, then it's not going to achieve anything. But just that light helps. Before you do any filling, then you want to be able to sand these walls down lightly, de-nibbing, just so that when you do fill, there's no nibs in the paintwork as you fill in. So either with a good blade, take it over the surface and just take any little bits of nibs that may be there, or use a block. I'm using a sponge block here, very fine, so I can work up to the coving and then across the broad wall. But remembering that sometimes if there are thick heavy nibs, then it may be better to knock those off first with your scraper and then go over the sanding block. Saves a bit of your sanding. Remembering, I'm not wanting to go through this paintwork. The odd nib that comes off, you may remove a little bit of paint, but that's okay. This is only the mist coat. When you're ready for mixing, choose a board or something suitable. And I've got me water in an old PVA bottle, so I can just add it as I need it, and then that's safe there, it won't spill if it falls over. Now, I'm not going to mix a great deal because I want to be able to work with this and use it all up, not waste anything. I'm going to be doing a lot of filling, but it can start to go off a little bit depending on the temperature and just becomes more awkward to work with. So I'm just going to mix what I need and then we'll get this in. I'll just mix it up to a nice smooth texture. You don't want any lumps in it. Now you can, to get this even creamier and smoother, you can add a small amount of the paint that you're using. Okay, so that's mixed up well. You want it to sit a little bit. You don't want it to just settle back too quick. Get less drooping, less shrinkage in the hole. So, ready for filling. I've already brought in this area. I'm working across. And what I've found with this as well, with the foot on, it's probably better just using it. I can rotate it as I'm working. No big deal. Don't have to take it off. The reason why I said mix a small amount. If you have too much on your board, even on your blade, as you're working across the wall, it'll be pulling a little bit of moisture out the filler. So each time it's drying a bit, you may just have to wet it a little bit and rework it. You can see how this hole, how it's sort of fractured away around the hole. Now this is being saved, there's a picture going on here, but I do need to fill all that. So I'm simply just going to pop a screw in. It's the easiest way of just saving that hole. Now I can just fill this and there won't be a problem. And when that's dry, I'll remove the screw and then just give it a light sand over. It's looking a bit better, that wall is now. Now, I had to strip the old paper off the wall, which then took the paint off underneath. So I had to take this back to bare plaster. So because this has had a couple of papers on the wall, there was quite a lot of damage on that plaster, so I couldn't just fill and paint it. I'm still going to be lining this wall. Hopefully your walls aren't as bad as this one, so you shouldn't have a problem with your painting. When all your filler is dry, anything like this you can remove. And then with your sanding block, go over the whole wall and just rub down any of the filler. Broad area, because when you applied your filler, if you don't put too much on, there's a small amount there, less to sand, less elbow work. Also, if you mist coat when you apply it, if you filter the paint, then any bits, anything that's in the paint from around the lid when you open it, you'll remove by filtering it, and that just makes the whole process a lot easier. And then when you have sanded down, again, generally just rubbing the broad area. When you have sanded it down, then the subsequent coats that you will apply, if each one of those has been filtered, then you will get a smoother finish on your wall. And when I say smoother finish, I just mean less bits, because the roller, as you apply the emulsion paint, will leave a slight stipple in the finish, which in the trade is called orange peel. Now really you'll never avoid that unless you either spray or brush it. And again, brushing it, you really do have to have this at the right consistency so that you don't leave too much of a thick brush mark in it. Now, smooth the walls by always at each stage addressing any small issues, sanding, filtering. A good tip is just to keep part of your hand in contact with the wall, and then starting on one side, working along the wall, with your block ahead of you, then that part of your hand is falling behind, and you'll be able to pick up any bits that you're missing, because at this stage again you either work with your light so you can see where you've filled, or again keep your block ahead of you and just have the palm of your hand on. better to avoid using an electric sander, because the vibration of the sander through the board will start maybe cracking out any bits and pieces, especially lath and plaster, old walls like that. Vibration through there will just disturb the rest of it. If you've done a repair and you start sanding, then if it's old flaky walls, you'll just be fracturing it underneath. That's looking a lot better now. So again, I had a lot to do on this wall. Generally, you shouldn't need to do all this. So, mist coat, filtered, and then when it's dry, light sand of the walls, fill anything, and then go back over and sand again. And then each coat of paint after that, filter it. You get really smooth walls. To get neat paint lines, either against your ceiling or your coving, then simply, see there, run a bit of filler into there. These aren't necessarily, I'll just wipe that back, these aren't necessarily always true square. So just by doing that, you'll get a neater paint line. Sand it back when it's dry. Same applies to any of these corners, because if you were putting a darker colour on this wall, then you would want the neatest edge down the corner. So you can see where I've run the filler in there, how it's sitting in. Good tip there to square up those edges. Always remember, when coming into a room decorating, if you haven't moved the furniture out, then you won't necessarily know where lights sit. So you might have a small table with a lamp on, standard lamp, which then may light the wall up. Wall lights that strike light up the wall or down the wall are generally, over. And then when it comes to ceilings, you may get downlights on the ceilings, which will help if it's a really bad ceiling. If it's a really big ceiling, then you can again have problems. Something like this, more pendant light, this is chandelier, will cast light up across the ceiling. So don't underestimate how much light can change a room. I'll just remove as much dust there as possible before I do a second fill. So I'll just take a little look at this now. Just get my light. Now it's going to be a bit difficult to try and pick it all up now, but it's looking a lot better overall. It's not really going to pick this up. If you are working where there's no electricity, then these are available, rechargeable, so you can just carry that around with you. Like I will always say, I'll always stress this, that your finish on the walls will only ever be as good as the actual plasterwork itself.